All right, what's going on, party people? Here for another edition of Mr. Yale's video notes. Today we are introducing the three types of economies throughout the world. Actually, there are three major ones we're going to look at. First thing we look at when we talk about economics, why do companies and businesses make what they do? An underlying theme that you'll see throughout this economics unit is that people do things, people make things, people work. The incentive for all of this is always, you see it on the bottom there, those three big dollar signs. Everything is always about money. So we'll start with the definition here. Goods and services are products and services are anything that can be done for a buyer. In the United States and most advanced economies, you trade money in exchange for goods and services. So what is a good versus a service? A good is anything that you can touch there, like a pencil, banana, and I guess that green fashionable sweater there on the bottom right would be a good, something you can physically touch, versus a service. These are all services here. Getting a massage, the police provide services. On the bottom center, actually, I took that picture at a George Strait concert. That would be a service. It's not a good because you can't physically touch the concert. The bottom left, that's an example of a service that's done for someone. And then on the far right, although it may not seem like it, I hate going to the dentist. You probably do too. But that is indeed a service as well. So the first type of economy is a traditional economy. We study it first because this is the first kind there ever was. Um, Up until about 4000 BC, when we studied Mesopotamia, they were all traditional economies. So groups of people make the decisions. Often these decisions are based on customs, traditions, and religious beliefs. They don't feature any type of money. We'll talk about barter later on within this economic unit, but a barter is anytime you trade a good for a good rather than using money. So why might bartering be a problem in an economy? Why don't you pause and take a second and think about that question. So traditional economy, like you see on the right, those were your tribal people. Those were your people before they settled down. Everything you had, everything you made, everything you ate, everything you did, you created for yourself. So everyone owns and uses the land together. It'd be like if everyone in this classroom were to go out into the woods and say, you know what, let's fend for ourselves, let's live for ourselves. We would make our own homes, we would have to hunt our own food. Honestly, looking around, I don't think we'd do all that well. So some examples throughout history. When we do our Africa unit, we'll study a tribe in Tanzania called the Hadza. They are one of the only remaining traditional economies today. Native Americans that first got here, and then the Amish community, which I live in Leo, so I see some Amish. They're probably the best example of a traditional economy that we can see around here. I would definitely not say they are a full-out traditional economy. As you can see, they divided labor to build that home behind them. If you look really closely, I didn't notice that before, there's a car there. You can't have an automobile like this without division of labor, but for the most part, the Amish community, they raise a lot of their own food, they butcher a lot of their own food, they make a lot of their own buildings. They are probably the best modern day example of a traditional economy. I guess other than this car's driving me nuts here, but a lot of them they transport via horse and buggy, which they raise the horses themselves and make the buggies themselves. So as mentioned, in a traditional economy, there is little division of labor. If you would please pause here and remind yourself what division of labor is. My example on the bottom, here's how division of labor works for me. So teachers are paid for lessons and grading papers, etc. Artists are paid to make paintings. If a teacher wants to enjoy a painting, they can use the money they earn and purchase a painting. If you want to enjoy paintings in a traditional economy, how would you do this? Yeah, you probably guess it. You'd either have to make it yourself or find someone around you to make it that painting and enjoy it. So these economies have very little technology. They're low tech or no tech. People are so busy um, fending for themselves, getting everything they need to live, that they don't have time to come up with inventions that involve electricity, the computers, the iPhones, those things. They just don't come about because they're so busy hunting their next meal, building their shelters. The second kind of economy we're going to talk about, command economy. This goes hand in hand with the idea of communism that we spoke about in the last unit. In a command economy, the government makes all decisions about everything. So the government tells individuals what they are going to do, how they are going to do it, what jobs they are going to work. The government decides who gets how much money, who gets what kind of home. The government decides what kind of products the country is going to produce. So governments in a command economy are usually led by a dictator. They are, which is also another term, good to review with the I-step coming up here, a totalitarian government. A totalitarian government is another name for an unlimited form of government in which the leader has absolute control. So on your note sheet, please list 3 characteristics that you remember about dictators. Pause here if you need to. So in a command economy, the government owns all of the major industries. Because of this, the government controls how much is produced. The government also decides for what price things will be sold. The government also controls the wages of the workforce producing the goods. So here's some examples. This gentleman, man of steel, Joseph Stalin, who led the Soviet Union. Last time you saw him, he was watching children play violin, and he was being hailed by all of his people. If you remember, that was called propaganda. This picture here, it almost looks like there's a fire in the background, but he was the dictator we talked about, very ruthless to his people. The bottom here, this is Mao, Chairman Mao. He was the leader of the communists who won the Chinese Civil War. For those of you still working on your crossword puzzle, the Chinese Civil War lasted 22 years. You can jot that down if you'd like. Also a reminder, your crossword puzzle you can turn in before Friday for a little bit extra credit. Fidel Castro was another dictator, probably the closest to home that we have. He was the dictator of Cuba, which the United States were now starting to build better diplomatic relations with Cuba. So because the government is determining what is produced, how much is made, and who makes it, people who live in command economies generally tend to have a lower standard of living, meaning they don't have a lot of goods to purchase, a lot of things aren't being made, their daily needs aren't as accounted for as much as those in a market economy, which we will talk about next. A common theme in economics is that people are generally much better at determining what is best for them than a large government is. So the third type, undoubtedly the best type, is a market economy. So within a market economy, businesses or people make decisions about what is made, how much is made, and how much something will be sold for. So consumers decide what should be made by having wants and needs. You listed your wants and needs on that half sheet of paper. My guess is that people who make products, if they saw that certain items came up over and over and over again, they would make those products because they know they could sell them. So consumers purchase goods and services that they enjoy. Producers then react to this and make more goods that customers want. So why is it that producers make things people want? Is it because they're nice people that want to make you happy? Or is it because they want to make some, say it out loud? Yeah, the answer to that question, they produce goods that people want because they want to make money. and if you're happy, then that's okay. So within a market economy, it's the exact opposite of a command economy. There is no government involvement whatsoever. People make absolutely all decisions. The government is, as you can see in the bottom, hands off. So individuals determine how much things cost. Remember, in that command economy, the government decides. But within a market economy, we have those two forces that are supply and demand that work together, which we'll talk about in a little bit of detail. But basically, demand is how much people want things. The more that people want a certain product, the more the price goes up. The less that people want a product, the price goes down. So in a market economy, businesses are owned by people, and money is essential to a market economy rather than barter. And again, we'll get to the difference between trade and barter. But the main idea I want you to get here is that people are making the decisions. For example, within a market economy, these are things that people value. The bottom right, I always kind of giggle about these things. They're the energy band bracelets, and I see a lot of people wearing them. And yes, they're a little bit stylish, but people wear these and they think that they're getting energy from them. Are they? Maybe. I'm not going to be the judge of whether they are or are not. But there are people out there that have made millions and millions of dollars off of these energy band bracelets. Top left here, as long as there are guys in this world, there will be the desire for pickup trucks. This is a Ford F-150 here, or is it a Chevy? I'm not sure, but it's a really nice large truck, and basically people want these items. Bottom left, there's always a demand. People care about their appearance, whether they're teenagers, whether they're high schoolers, college, people my age, your parents' age. There's always a demand for product like this. Not just this acne cream here, but any type of cosmetic product, there's always a high demand for. Producers make this realizing that people care about their appearance. Because they know that, they know there will always be a demand and money to be made in this field. So looking forward into the future, if you want to make money, think of the next product that people want. What are two things that I really like? Well, I like caffeine. I like bacon. So what if we combine those two things into Diet Coke with bacon? Things like this, although they sound silly, if people will buy them or if people want them enough, companies will produce them to make money. So examples of market economies in history. During that Industrial Revolution, Great Britain was one, and so was the United States. So citizens in a market economy tend to have a higher standard of living because they can spend their money that they earn on products that they want. There are many more goods and services for them because companies are always making products, items, goods, and services to make people happier. So quick review, pause here on a separate sheet of paper, answer these questions. How are items produced in all three of these types of economy? Okay, the fourth kind of economy which we'll talk about is a mixed economy. A mixed economy is any combination of these. Technically, the United States is an example, of a mixed economy, but it's more like a market economy than any of the other ones. So within our economy, businesses produce goods based on consumer demands. Like I said, supply and demand determines the price of goods, but in our economy, the government will step in with regulations if a product is unsafe. So mixed economies today, a majority of today's nations are mixed economies, but like communist countries, we tend to refer to them as command economies. Pre-division of labor economies, none of them were perfectly traditional economies, but we tend to refer to them as mixed economies, even though we today were much more of a market economy. Okay, as we're wrapping up here, please make note of the fact and write these next to the other types of economies. Market economies can also be called a free enterprise or capitalist system, while command economies can also be called communism,